Welcome to the third episode of the Disposable Reviewer, which is me, the Disposable Reviewer. And as always, this is my co-host and lead guitarist of the disposable band, Manni-kin. He'd probably be a lot better if he actually had arms. A lot of you, and by a lot I mean like one person, has asked me, Disposable Reviewer, how come you only review old games? Did you grow up in the 90s or something? We want to see new games. Well actually, yes, I did grow up in the 90s, though it wasn't really my choice, unlike Manni-kin over here. And just for that, I'm going to review another old game, a game as old as I am. So, my amazing staff, tell me who sent us this letter.
Mike Jones.
Who?
Mike Jones.
Who?
Mike Jones.
Oh shoot, I know where this is going. Boot it up. We still have the same intro? What happened to the budget? What do you mean don't worry about it? That makes me wonder about it even more. It's for my own safety? What the hell kind of deal are you doing with our budget? Oh, okay. We needed more soda and candy. That's understandable. Today's game is StarTropics for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It was first released in 1990, then re-released in 2008 for the Virtual Console. And just like the last game I reviewed, this one wasn't released in Japan. It was made just for us Americans. In this game, you play as American ace pitcher Mike Jones, who visits his uncle. He does so by traveling to Sea Islands, which probably looks like the game's cover. Well, there's an island, some palm trees, and a shooting star. Boy, these non-Japan Nintendo games don't really try to reach out with their covers, do they? Let's start! Yep, that's the title screen. Let's wait and see if it does anything special. Oh, look at that! A helicopter heading for an island. I guess that's it, let's start. Gonna need to register a name. You know, this kinda reminds me of The Legend of Zelda. Alright, let's make it short and sweet by misspelling the abbreviation of Doctor. What? Oh, I'm being told it's supposed to stand for Disposable Reviewer. What the hell's that?
One day in summer, you land at Sea Island, where Dr. Jones has his laboratory.
Those dots at the end of this prelude screen are really giving me a bad feeling. At least the game shows a landing pad, which is actually a nice little detail. Now let's enter this village and gather some helpful information. Oink oink. Yeah, that'll help me. You know, I like you, pig. I'll name you Steve. I have to hurry. I'm gonna roast the pig for your welcome party. Oh no! Run, Steve! Run! After talking to some people, some of them not so friendly, you come across Super Mario, who is now a village chief for some reason. He goes on and tells you that your uncle has been kidnapped and asks you for your help. And if you're a loving nephew like I am, you will flat out refuse. Refuse all you want though, you will get stuck in a loop. The chief gives you a star, which is what most people would call a yo-yo, as a weapon. You go down some stairs and BAM! Woman in the basement. Apparently she is the shaman and Mario's sister. Who knew he had one? Luigi should be happy we at least know he exists. Also, get ready to see this woman a lot. She will basically revive you after you run out of lives, which will probably be often. Okay, now for the action part of the game. Note the music, it's catchy and upbeat, and awesome. It'll play in almost every dungeon, which is not a bad thing. You play through an introductory dungeon, which should not cause any problems. But trust me, it will get much more challenging. Anyways, you fight a snake boss and then you can leave the first of many dungeons. Yeah, you done it. So that's the game in general. You'll be traveling the overworld to talk to people, sometimes in villages or huts, to try to find out where to go or what to do. Then you'll go into a dungeon, which is the action sequence. The dungeons are where the meat is, and who doesn't love meat?
Yo ho ho!
Here is where you will jump, attack with your yo-yo, and die. The controls take a little getting used to, mostly because Mike slides around a bit. Once you get it down though, it shouldn't be too much of an issue, though I will admit I did end up walking into a wall a few times. At the same time, you can work this sliding into your attacks. The attack button will cover both your yo-yo and any special items. These special items do add to the game. Want to attack the surrounding enemies? Pick up a bat and swing away. Want to attack at a distance? Get some balls. Baseballs, that is. It's pitching ace Mike Jones. Of course he's a master of these weapons. There are other weapons too, but it's not baseball related, so who cares?
America.
You got your fireball things, your throwing star things, your magic mirrors, even a shoe that somehow sends you flying at your enemies. Despite all these items, for the most part, you'll be relying on your yo-yo. There are magic items that you can access only through the pause menu, and if this is your first time playing and you didn't read the manual, you might have some trouble getting to it. But you will need to learn how to use them, as they make the game easier and are actually necessary in some parts. You don't have to have them, but they make boss fights a lot easier. But with how difficult this game can get sometimes, odds are you're gonna need them, myself included. You have healing items, snowmen that freeze the bad guys, magic scepters that reveal hidden enemies that you need to kill in order to not get stuck in an endless loop of a dungeon. And if you can't figure out why you can't find a dungeon exit, well, you're not alone. The first time I used the scepter, nothing happened, and I quickly forgot about it. I just happened to use it in the wrong room. Of course, some items are easier to figure out than others. I don't need to explain healing potion except that it doesn't heal all your hearts, and that heart system seems a little weird. It is a nice indicator on how much life you have left, though it can get very annoying if you're low on health and it starts beeping. Almost every action you take causes the game to beep. Need to jump? There's a beep for that. Need to attack? There's a beep for that. Need to attack a lot? The beeps are endless. And there's no telling how many hearts you'll lose from a bad guy. Some do a little, some do a lot. And as far as I know, you can increase your defense. So if you're in a place where you lose lots of hearts, you better dodge. And should you die, your hearts don't get completely restored. You don't even get half of your full health. You just get 3 hearts, regardless of how many heart containers you have, which is up to 22. Now, early on in the game, this isn't a bad thing since you don't have too many heart containers anyways. However, as you get further into the game, 3 hearts is nowhere near enough. Now, I'm not saying that all the hearts should be restored, but the game really needs to give you more than 3 hearts, since there are regular enemies that can do that much damage to you in one hit. And it wouldn't really be a big issue if hearts were easy to come by, but those things are usually hard to find. If you collect 5 stars dropped by enemies, that's a free heart, but those don't drop too often either. So you enter a dungeon with full hearts. You end up dying halfway because you didn't time your jump right. You somehow get to the boss on your last life, and you die. That's okay, because although there are checkpoints, you will start back at the dungeon entrance.
Wait! That doesn't make them better. That makes them worse.
Alright, so if you die and still have lives remaining, then you go back to a checkpoint. But again, you don't come back to full health, which means that there's a higher chance of you dying in the same spot, if not earlier. And once you run out of lives, it's back to the dungeon entrance for you. And it's because of this that the game is actually pretty hard and kind of frustrating. Once you get to the end of a dungeon, whether it's through sheer luck or enough skill, you will be awarded with a boss fight. You got your Ekans boss, your Octillery, your Meramon, your Bakumon, and some others. For the most part, they're all varied from each other when it comes to actions, though they can feel a bit simple at times. I do like the Meramon boss. You can't beat it by attacking it. There is a trick to beat it, though no hints were given, so it feels a little unfair. But once you do figure it out, it is kinda easy. When it comes to looks, I actually really like them. This game has 2 distinct looks to it. It has one look for dungeons and one for everything else. The dungeon sequences look great. Mike himself looks good, but I really like the monsters in the game. There's little flying monkeys, ghosts, and lava monsters. I even like the little slugs, but my favorite has got to be the little skeleton dogs.
Adorable.
And you can't forget the... wait... what the hell is that thing?
Fear.
And you can't forget the death bowling balls. One touch and you're dead. I'm just kinda confused as why they're specifically bowling balls, but sure, why not? As for the non-dungeon sections, which I will just call the overworld, well, it has a Nintendo RPG feel to it. There's no real action taking place in these sections, though there is an occasional puzzle that happens once in a while. There are even secret paths which can lead to items to increase your health. Aw, thanks game. It's very kind of you. These secret paths are actually introduced to the game nicely by forcing you to find a not-so-hidden one in order to progress through the game. You'll travel from island to island using a submarine, sometimes even running into sea creatures. It looks pretty decent, but the main focus will be on the dungeons. Though I will say the overworld sections remind me of a certain sequel of a certain green wearing elf. Actually, the dungeons look a lot like said elf's first game. And now that I think about it, when I was at the registration screen...
Similarities.
I just want to take this time to talk about the first dungeon, because it gives you a fair warning about what's to happen in the rest of the game. There are bad guys, there is a boss, and there are secret switches and paths. And perhaps one of my most favorite parts of this game happens here on the secret path. You find the hidden path, and inside a room you find a health potion. Awesome! You search around and find a secret switch that leads to a secret room. Inside is another secret health potion. Even better! Now you shouldn't have to worry about dying. You search the room and find another secret switch that leads to another path. Now by this point your mind is like, heck yeah, I'm about to get another secret potion. I'll be invincible. You go through the door and... you're dead.
No, Mike Jones!
There's no platform and no warning. And once you're in, you can't go back. I don't know if the makers are trying to teach you a lesson in greed, but they do teach you to expect sudden death, and not to expect everything to be handed to you so easily. There are a lot of instances where there's a pack of hearts that you can get, but at great risk. And oftentimes, you will need the hearts. But with only one life, it might not be worth the risk to get those hearts. These guys are just mean. As for the music, this game actually uses it pretty well. A lot of the music has an islandy feel to it, if that makes any sense, and it all fits perfectly. What I like about the music in this game is that it changes to set the mood. When you start a dungeon, you usually get that upbeat music I pointed out earlier. As you progress through the dungeon and reach a harder section, the music will become much more intense. When the action dies down, the music will even return to the more upbeat song. Or if you're in a section that's very calm, like where the secret potions are in the first dungeon, the music will become calm too. Oh, and I'd like to point out the lives. I like how there's small little signs of Mike's face on it, but even getting a life is risky. Sure, they might be out in the open and easy to grab, but no one said that they'd automatically give you a life. One time I got it and I got 2 lives, but the next time I got it, I ended up losing a life. Yeah, I got a -1 on the other side of that sign. I feel like this game just wants to mess with players. Besides the chance of losing lives where most people would expect to get some, this game has a second area where you can fall to your death unexpectedly, like with the secret area in the first dungeon. There is even a part later on in the game where it makes you think you're fighting a boss by playing the boss music. After beating the boss, the music changes to the victory tune that usually plays before you leave a dungeon. And right before you get a chance to leave, the screen goes black and the music disappears. The game gives you a second boss fight. It's like the game was made by Goofy or something. The plot isn't anything too extravagant. Your uncle has been kidnapped and you go search for him. Along the way you complete other tasks to progress through the game. You save a baby dolphin and the daughter of a village chief. You even pull a Geppetto and get swallowed by a whale. And everything is going fine until your little navigating friend Navcom and a friend of your uncle's tells you to dip a letter into water. What the hell letter is he talking about? Wait, does he mean real life? Like in the instruction booklet? No, I'm really asking you, executive producer, does he mean real life? What the hell are we supposed to do? We bought this game used. We didn't get no books with this. What do I do? What do I do? Manni-kin, what do I do? Baby, what do I do? Mama Dog, what do I do? Mindy, what do I do? She's purring. Shouting audience member outside of the screen, what do I do?
Use the internet, stupid.
Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So yeah, you can find the frequency online. Luckily, the frequency is the same for every game. Now I think it would have been pretty cool if I had the original game with the letter. Fortunately I don't, so I can't actually show you what they're talking about. I don't know if they did this so that it can prevent people from reselling the game, but I don't really have a research team, so don't go spreading that around. Now if you bought this game on Virtual Console, Nintendo actually gives you a way to dip the letter into the water. All you do is you take your Wii and put it in water. Now let's see, just gotta dip this in the... Wait, what? What do you mean that doesn't work? What else do you expect me to do? If you still have your Wii working, just hit the home button, go to the operations guide, then take a blind guess and choose the story. And look at that! There's a highlighted button titled Letter. And there's the letter that should have come with the instruction book. And there's a bucket of water and a paper over it. Let's click it. And there's your answer. So let's recap. Visually, the game looks great. The dungeon characters all look good, the bosses look great, and they're pretty fun to fight. The gameplay is pretty good, though it is a little tricky to get used to the sliding around that the character does. But once you get over that, it's a pretty solid game. This game is actually pretty nice to players from the get-go, though the difficulty does jump up pretty quickly. But despite how difficult this game can be, it's actually really satisfying to beat a dungeon that you've been stuck on. There's been times where I got super frustrated trying to beat a dungeon, and when I finally beat it, I felt very good about myself, like a real sense of accomplishment. My final verdict for this game is reusable. I'd recommend it to anybody that wants a little bit of a satisfying challenge, or to anybody that wants to play something a little bit similar to the original Legend of Zeldas. It's fun, and it's definitely worth a shot. Though, there are a few little things that make it just shy of being indisposable. If you get the chance, you should give StarTropics a try. It's one of my favorite Nintendo games which I come back to often to try to finally beat. The best advice I can give you is that you take your time with this game and don't try to beat it in one go. Now since we have an intern, let's abuse him in a segment I like to call the intern's turn. Say hi to the disposable intern. He's just called the intern, but I like to remind him that he's easily replaceable. So intern, what's your opinion about this game?
Well, actually, I didn't really get to play it.
Alright, you wasted enough of our time. Well, that concludes this episode of Disposable Reviewer. I'm the Disposable Reviewer, and on behalf of Manni-kin, help control the intern population by having your intern spayed or neutered. Thanks for watching this episode of the Disposable Reviewer. Gotta thank Fern, Firebird, Asuka Moreno, and the intern for helping me out with this episode. We got a Twitter, we got a Facebook page, and we even got an Instagram, so check those out, and spread them around. The links are in the description. I still don't have the whole social media thing down, but hey, that's why we have an intern, to force him to figure it out and allow me to take the credit. I'm 3 episodes in, let me know how I'm doing in the comments, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider it. or even just share this video with people you think might like it. And hey, my other channel, Disposable Gameplay, actually has videos now. We just finished Power Rangers the movie The Game, which is where I think we actually start getting our act together and are actually starting to be funny. Check it out if you have the time, but really, watching the Disposable Reviewer is the best way to earn Manni-kin's love.